All right, let's get right into it. Is your car running a little rough? Maybe you're staring at a P0302 engine code and you're just not sure what to do next. Well, you've come to the right place. We're going to break down exactly what that code means, what's likely causing it, and most importantly, how you can actually go about fixing it. So there it is. That check engine light you've been maybe trying to ignore is on. You plugged in your scanner and it spits out this code, P0302. You're probably thinking, okay, what does that really mean? And just how serious is this? Don't worry, we're going to decode this thing for you, step by step. So, what does P0302 actually mean? In the simplest terms, it means your car's computer has figured out that cylinder number 2 isn't firing the way it should be. See, that 02 at the end is the key. It's pointing you to a very specific spot. And a misfire, well, it's pretty much what it sounds like. It's a hiccup in the engine's rhythm, and you're going to feel it as a stutter or a loss of power, especially when you step on the gas. But, to really solve a problem, you've got to understand it first. So what exactly is a misfire? Let's take a quick look at the basic science of how your engine makes power in the first place. Think about it like this. Your engine is all about creating thousands of tiny, perfectly controlled explosions every single minute. And it all boils down to just 3 things. First, you need a perfect mix of air and fuel to get sucked into the cylinder. Second, at the exact right millisecond, the spark plug has to create a spark to light that mixture. And third, that ignition, that little explosion, is what shoves the piston down, turns the engine, and ultimately moves your car. Air, fuel, spark. That's the magic recipe. And this is the perfect way to picture it. On one side, you've got a happy, healthy cylinder. That little 3-step dance of air, fuel, and spark is happening flawlessly. But on the other side, you've got our problem child, cylinder number 2. The cycle is failing. That failure is the misfire. And it's happening because one of those 3 key ingredients is either wrong or missing entirely. Okay, so now that we know why it's happening, it's time to put on our detective hats. We need to figure out which of those 3 elements, air, fuel, or spark, is the bad guy here. It's time to round up the usual suspects for a P0302 code. Now, here are the most common causes, and we should really think of them in order of probability. The vast, vast majority of the time, a misfire like this comes from the ignition system. We're talking a bad spark plug or a failing ignition coil. It's way less common for it to be a fuel issue, and it's pretty rare for it to be a big mechanical problem. And honestly, that's great news, because it gives us a really clear, easy place to start looking. All right, enough of the what, let's get to the how. We're going to lay out a simple, logical game plan so you can track down the real cause of this misfire without just, throwing random parts at your car and hoping for the best. First things first, before you even think about grabbing a wrench, your first mission is super simple. Find cylinder number 2. Now, all engines are laid out differently, and the numbering isn't always what you'd expect. Just do a quick search online for your car's year, make, and model, plus the words cylinder location, and you'll find a diagram that shows you exactly where you need to be looking. Think of our game plan like a funnel. We're going to start at the top, the wide part with the most common and easiest stuff to check, and then we'll work our way down. This is going to save you time, money, and a whole lot of frustration. So we start with ignition, then we move to fuel, and only then do we start thinking about the less likely stuff. So, following our funnel, we are zooming in on our prime suspect. We're starting with the parts that are responsible for making that critical spark happen for cylinder number 2. We're looking at the ignition system. Okay, everybody, lean in for this one. If you only remember one thing from this whole explainer, make it this. This right here is the single best, most effective, and totally free diagnostic test you can do. Just unplug and unbolt the ignition coil from cylinder 2, our problem cylinder. Then, do the same thing for a cylinder you know is working fine like cylinder 1. And then, swap them. Put the coil from cylinder 1 onto cylinder 2, and the coil from 2 onto cylinder 1. Clear the codes, start the car, and go for a drive. If that code comes back as P0301, boom, you've found your problem. The misfire followed the coil. You need a new ignition coil. No guessing needed. It's that simple. And hey, while you've got that coil off, it is the perfect time to pull out the spark plug from cylinder 2 and just take a look at it. A healthy plug tells a story of good combustion. It'll have a nice light tan or grayish tip. A bad plug tells a very different story. If it's all worn down or black and sooty or even wet with oil, that's a dead giveaway that it's not doing its job anymore and needs to be replaced. So what if you do the coil swap, the spark plug looks okay, but that P0302 code just stubbornly comes right back? No big deal. We just move on to the next suspect on our list. If we're pretty sure the spark is good, the next logical question is it getting enough fuel? And that brings us to the fuel injector for cylinder number 2. Now, I know it can be tempting to just say, I can live with a rough idle, but let's talk about why you absolutely should not ignore this code. There are some serious and seriously expensive reasons to get this fixed fast. This is so important, so listen close. Not all check engine lights mean the same thing. A solid, steady light is a warning. It's a heads up. But a flashing light? That is not a warning. That's a full-blown emergency alert. It means a bad misfire is happening right now, and it can cause some major damage fast. And here's the why behind that flashing light emergency. When a cylinder misfires, it's dumping raw, unburned fuel straight into your exhaust system. That fuel then hits your super hot catalytic converter, and it can literally melt the inside of it. Let me tell you, replacing a catalytic converter is a painfully expensive job. We're talking $1,500 easy, sometimes more. Fixing a simple misfire can save you from a complete financial disaster down the road. All right, let's wrap this up and boil it all down. P0302 means cylinder 2 is misfiring. Simple. The problem is always going to be one of 3 things: air, fuel, or spark. You always start by checking the easiest things first: the spark plug and ignition coil on that cylinder. Your secret weapon is the coil swap trick. And please, most importantly, if that check engine light ever starts flashing at you, pull over safely and shut the car off. Seriously. So there you go. You're no longer just staring at some random code on a screen. You get what's happening under your hood, you know who the usual suspects are, and you've got a solid plan to figure it out. You're now in a position to either fix this yourself or at the very least have a much smarter conversation with your mechanic. So the only question left is, what's your next step going to be?